All right, welcome back, Little Weird Church. It's time for another daily Bible reading. It is October the 26th. Dear Lord, thank you for this day and thank you for everything that you've given us. Help us understand what we're about to read today as we're in the book of Job. Let me pray. Amen. All right, real quick, if you could rate this podcast and join the Facebook group, that would be much beneficial. Thank you so much. Today we're going to be in chapter 37, and we're about to get the ball rolling. I'm excited because Job is finally coming to a conclusion. And when Yahweh comes in, it's pretty epic. So let's just get going. 37. Yes, at this my heart trembles and moves out of its place. Hear, oh hear the noise of his voice, the sound that goes out of his mouth. He sends it out under the whole sky, and his lightning to the ends of the earth. After it, a voice roars. He thunders with the voice of his majesty. He doesn't hold back anything when his voice is heard. God thunders marvelously with his voice. He does great things which we can't comprehend. For he says to the snow, fall on the earth, likewise to the shower of rain, and to the showers of his mighty rain. He seals up the hand of every man, that all men whom he had made may know it. Then the animals take over, and remain in their dens. Out of its room comes the storm, and cold out of the north. By the breath of God ice is given, and the width of its waters is frozen. Yes, he loads the thick clouds with moisture. He spreads abroad the cloud of his lightning. It is turned around by its guidance, and they may do whatever he commands them. On the surface of the habitable world, whether it is for correction, or for his land, or for his loving kindness that he causes it to come. Listen to this, Job. Stand still and consider the wondrous works of God. Do you know how God controls them and cause the lightning of his cloud to shine? Do you know the workings of his clouds, the wondrous works of him who is perfect in knowledge? You whose clothing is warm, when the earth is still by reason of the south wind, can you, with him, spread out the sky, which is strong as the cast metal mirror? Teach us what we will tell him, for we can't make our case by reason of darkness. Will it be told him that I would speak? Or should a man wish that he were swallowed up? Now men don't see the light which is bright in the skies, but the wind passes and clears them. Out of the north comes golden splendor. With God is awesome majesty. We can't reach the Almighty. He is exalted in power and justice and great righteousness. He will not oppress. Therefore men revere him. He doesn't regard any who are wise at heart. This is probably the most truthful statement in all of Job that we've heard so far. Everything that has been said here. Here we go. Chapter 38. Finally, we're gonna get an answer from Yahweh himself. Interesting to note, what we're about to read has more scientific facts than Genesis itself. So we're going to go through them when they come up. I'm excited. Let's go. Chapter 38. Then Yahweh answered Job out of the whirlwind. God comes in like a whirlwind. It's interesting to note that a lot through the Bible, and I can't quote everything here, a lot through the Bible, it talks about God being in the wind, God being in the whirlwind, and God is spirit. So most of the time he comes like the wind. We know he's there just by the wind. Verse 2, who is this who darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Oof. Oof. I gotta read that again. Who is this who darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Now, right here he's talking to Job, because Job's going to take it to him personally. Brace yourself like a man, for I will question you, then you answer me. Now, the King James Version says, gird up your loins. And what that means is that their flowing robes that they would hike it up into their satchel so they could get ready for a fight. They would get ready for work. So this is pretty much what it says. So brace yourself like a man, for I will question you, then you answer me. Verse 4. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if you have understanding. Who determines its measure, if you know? Or who stretches the line on it? What were its foundations fastened on? Or who laid its cornerstone? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. That's intense, because if you know anything about the Bible, morning stars and sons of God are referenced throughout the Bible all the time of angels. Now, we are not a son of God. We're a direct creation from Adam. Adam was a son of God, but we're a direct creation from Adam. When we become saved, when we believe in Jesus, it says, to those who he gave the power to become sons of God. So when you are saved, you become a new creation, and you have the power to become a son of God. Isn't that wonderful? Verse 8, or who shut up the seas with doors when it broke out of the womb? What's it talking about there? Well, it's talking about the flood. If you read the flood of Genesis, it's not all the rain. It says the waters of the deep broke open. So there was water underneath the crust of the earth. Now, why isn't it there? Well, obviously it broke open. But if it were there today, we would actually have no earthquakes ever, because it acted as a cushion to the tectonic plates, which is interesting. That's how the old earth worked before the flood. The fountains of the deep broke open, and that's why I believe we have the San Andreas Fault, all that kind of stuff. That's where the fountains of the deep broke open. Verse 9, when I made clouds its garments and wrapped it in thick darkness, worked out for my bound, set bars and doors, and said, you may come here, but no further. Your proud waves shall be stopped here. It's interesting to note also that the flood could never happen again, as there's set boundaries on everything, and it couldn't happen again. That's what it's talking about now. Verse 12, have you commanded the morning in your days and caused the dawn to know its place? The earth, the sun rises in a different position almost every day because of the earth's rotation. And God is telling him here, I have set that up. It might take hold of the ends of the earth and shake the wicked out of it. It is changed as clay under the seal and presented as a garment. From the wicked their light is withheld, and the high arm is broken. Have you entered into the springs of the sea? Or have you walked in the presence of the deep? Have the gates of death been revealed to you, or have you seen the gates of the shadow of death? Death is still very much a mystery to us. You know, we can read near-death experiences, but only a few people, handful of people, have actually come back from the dead. A lot of people just want the clout in the story and their 5 seconds of fame. Verse 18, have you comprehended the earth in its width? Declare if you know it all. Now, this is the only one that we might know today, based on satellites and everything. We know the circumference of the earth and the width and height and everything like that. Verse 19, what is the way to the dwelling of light? Or for darkness, where is its place? Oof. Light is still much a mystery to us. Johnson won a Nobel Prize because he figured out that light is a wave. His son later won another Nobel Prize because he figured out it was a particle. So light can be a particle and a wave. It's also an interesting note that light can't go faster than it's actually going because of time. And every photon is connected. one photon knows what another photon is doing millions of miles away. They're all connected, and it's something we just don't understand. But it's also saying for darkness. Well, I thought darkness was just the absence of light. Nope. What about black holes? You know, black holes have the most gravitational force that light can't even escape it. Everything just goes in it. Light can't even escape it. Verse 20, that you should take it to its bound, that you should discern the paths to its house. Surely you know, for you were born then, and the number of your days is great. God is being very facetious here. He's being very sarcastic. You can see it kind of into the nature of Yahweh, that he actually has a sense of humor. Isn't that nice to know? Verse 22, have you entered to the storehouse of snow? Now, what is this talking about? No one knows. Isn't that interesting? No one knows what this is talking. Have you entered into the storehouses of the snow? Or have you seen the storehouses of the hail? Now, the King James talks about this as a warfare. Is there something about crystallography that we don't know when it comes to snow? Could be used as a weaponry. Isn't that weird? I wonder if we'll ever find that out one day. Verse 23, which I have reserved against the time of trouble, against the day of battle and war. See? Snow. And it's just something that we don't know what's going on here. By the way, is the lighting distributed, or the east wind scattered on the earth? Who has cut a camel for the flood water, or the path for the thunderstorm, to cause it to rain on the land where there is no man, and the wilderness in which there is no man? No one's there, and yet it rains. Who's doing that? To satisfy the waste and desolate ground, to cause the tender grass to grow. Does the rain have a father? Or who fathers the drops of dew? Whose womb did the ice come out of? Who has given birth to gray frost of the sky? The waters become hard like stone. Then the surface of the deep is frozen. Interesting to note, water. Everything else expands when it gets hot. Ever heard your house creak? I live in Florida, so house creaking, it does it all the time. It's hot. It's interesting to note, though, water is the opposite. It expands when it becomes ice. It becomes ice, and then it floats because it expands. And there's ice on top of the water, so the fish underneath can survive the winter. Very interesting. It's like the only exception. It is the only exception for expansion. It expands when it gets cold. Instead of everything else in the entire world, it expands when it gets hot. Verse 31, can you bind the cluster of the Pleiades, or loosen the cords of Orion? This one is so interesting. If you look this up, the cluster of the Pleiades, it looks like 7 stars. Okay, now we're talking about stars here. It looks like 7 stars. There's a lot more in. Or loosen the cords of Orion. Now, this is Orion's belt. We've all heard of Orion's belt. Did you know that they are linked? They are linked by gravitational pull. How did they know that? How did they know that? Let's read this again. Can you bind the cluster of the Pleiades, or loosen the cords of Orion? They're linked by gravitational pull. Verse 32, can you lead the constellation out in their season, or can you guide the bear with her cubs? Do you know the laws of the heavens? Can you establish its domain over the earth? Can you lift up your voice to the clouds, that abundance of waters may cover you? Can you send out lightning? They may go. Do you report to you? Here we are. Who has put wisdom in the inward parts, or who has given understanding to the wind? Who can count the clouds of wisdom, or who can pour out the containers of the sky when the dust runs into a mass and the clods of earth stick together? Can you hunt the prey of the lioness or satisfy the appetite of the young lions when they crouch in their dens and lie in wait in the thicket? Who provides for the raven his prey, and his young ones cry to God and wonder for lack of food? Chapter 39, this is our last one. Do you know, there's chapter 40, but this is our last one today. Do you know the time when the mountain goats give birth? Do you watch when the doe bear fawns? Can you count the months that they fulfill? Or do you know the time when they give birth? They bow themselves, the bear is young. They end up their labor pains. The young ones become strong, they grow up in the open field, they go out and don't return again. Who has set the wild donkey free, or who has loosened the bonds of the swift donkey? Whose home I have made the wilderness, and the salt land its dwelling place. He scorns the tumult of the city, neither does he hear the shouting of the driver. The range of the mountains is his pasture. He searches after every green thing. Will the wild ox be content to serve you, or will he stay by your feeding trough? Can you hold the wild ox in its furrow with his harness? Will he till the valley after you? Will you trust him because his strength is great, or will you leave him your labor? Obviously, no, you're going to lead him in a way he doesn't know what to do, so you're going to lead him. Will you confide in him that he will bring home your seed and gather the grain of your threshing floor? The wings of the ostrich wave proudly. Now, Yahweh is going to make fun of the ostrich here, which is kind of hilarious. The wings of the ostrich have waved proudly, but they are the feathers and plumage of love. For she leaves her eggs on earth, warms them in the dust, and forgets that the foot may crush them, or that the wild animal may trample them. She deals harshly with her young ones, as if they were not hers. Though her labor is in vain, she is without fear, because God has deprived her of wisdom, neither has he imparted to her understanding. When she lifts up herself on high, she scorns the horse and his rider. Ostriches run faster than a horse. They are clocked at 40 miles an hour. Can you believe that? So they can run fast, but as far as their eggs, they leave them in a field. It's where everybody can get to them. They're just really not very smart animals. And God makes fun of them. Not in a bad way. He just tells them, he did it for his pleasure. He's just picking on him. Let's put it that way. Verse 19, have you given the horse might? Have you clothed his neck with a quivering mane? Have you made him to leap as a locust? The glory of his snorting is awesome. He paws in the valley and rejoices in his strength. He goes out to meet the armed men. He mocks at fear and does not dismay. Neither does he turn back from his sword. The quiver rattles against him, the flashing spear and the javelin. He eats up the ground with fierceness and rage. Neither does he stand still at the sound of the trumpet. As often as the trumpet sounds, he snorts. Aha! He smells the battle afar off, the thunder of the captains and the shouting. It is by your wisdom that the hawk soars and stretches her wings towards the south. God is being very funny here. It is at your command that the eagle mounts up and makes his nest on high, right? On the cliff he dwells and makes his home on the point of the cliff and the stronghold. From there he spies out the prey. His eyes see it afar off. His young ones also suck up blood where the slain are. There he is. God is saying, I have put everything in motion. All these animals that you think are just random, I put that, what do you call it? That desire in them, that animal instinct. That's what I'm looking for. This animal instinct, I put it there. Everything that these animals are doing, I put it there. There's a small bird that nests, and he flies from Alaska to Hawaii. every year. Now, when you do the math, it can't make it. Can't make it at all. The journey is just too great, and there's just too much energy to hold up. So what they do is they fly in formation. That's the only way they can make it. But there's no islands. There's nothing in between from Alaska to Hawaii. And scientists have been studying how do they know where to go. Well, they haven't found out an answer. They thought, well, is it from the stars? What if it's a cloudy night and they can't see anything? You know? So they haven't found an answer. And the whole point is God gave them this animal instinct to do this. They're still trying to study it, trying to see if they can find out a better navigation system, because these birds just automatically know where to go. And it's a long, long journey, 4,000 miles. With nothing in between, just seas. So they obviously have a navigation system that is incredibly superb. And we need to find that out one day, because that's amazing. Last thing we're going to do is Proverbs 22, verse 13. The sluggard says, there is a lion outside. I will be killed in the streets. I guess the sluggard is wanting to go outside. I gotta admit, that one's a little weird. The sluggard says, there is a lion outside. I will be killed in the streets. I guess don't go outside, but that's the point. Don't go outside, stay where it's safe. Dear Lord, thank you for this day, and thank you for everything you've given us. Thank you for answering Job, that we may see into your personality, that you are sarcastic, and maybe you might answer us that way. You have a sense of humor. Thank you for setting everything in motion, that we may understand. Thank you for letting us know that the Platitudes and Orions are connected. Who would have known that? Only you. Be with us today and talk to us today. Tell us what you want us to do. Amen. Pray. Amen. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being with me today. Hopefully you learned a lot of scientific stuff. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be with you. I love you guys. See you later. Bye.